She stepped into the airport early in the morning, carrying a small bag and a heart full of hope. It was not just any flight for her. This flight meant something more. She was a woman who had seen many hard days in her life, and yet she had never lost her courage. She had worked very hard to reach where she was now, and every small step had been full of struggle. But today, as she walked toward the gate, she was ready for a new challenge. The airport was busy with people rushing here and there. Families, business travelers, and holidaymakers filled the space. The noise was loud, but she stayed calm. She checked her ticket, showed her ID, and waited patiently in line to board the plane. When it was her turn, she smiled politely and showed the flight attendant her boarding pass. Everything seemed normal at first. Once inside the plane, she found her seat by the window. She put her bag in the overhead compartment and settled down. Round her, the flight crew moved quickly, preparing for takeoff. They smiled at some passengers and talked quietly with each other. But something felt different. The woman noticed some flight attendants casting quick glances her way, whispering among themselves with small smirks. She tried not to think much of it. Maybe she was imagining things. The plane started to move, and soon they were in the air. As the flight continued, she quietly listened to the announcements and watched the sky outside. Then during the flight, a question came up that made her heart sink. She asked the flight crew for help with a small problem she had encountered during check-in. It was nothing major, but it mattered to her, a special request about seating because of a health issue. The crew member who came over looked at her strangely. Instead of helping kindly, the flight attendant made a small joke in a low voice, but loud enough for her to hear. Some other crew members laughed softly. They made fun of the trouble she was facing, as if her problem was silly or unimportant. The woman felt a sharp pain inside. She wanted to speak up, but found it hard. The flight crew's behavior was not only unkind, but also showed a lack of respect. They laughed at her struggles, as if those struggles were funny around her. Some passengers noticed what was happening. Some looked away, uncomfortable. Others whispered quietly to themselves. But no one said anything loud enough to stop the crew. The woman felt alone, even though the plane was full of people. She kept her calm, holding back tears. She knew this moment was not just about her. It was about many people who face unfair treatment every day. She thought about the many times in her life when people had judged her by her skin color or by who she was. She remembered moments when doors closed on her without reason, when voices were raised against her, when she had to prove herself more than others just to be seen as equal. This flight crew's laughter was a painful reminder of those old wounds. But she was also strong. She had come a long way from those dark times. She was a woman who had never given up. She had built a successful career, earned respect, and made a place for herself in a world that was not always kind. Still, this flight showed her that prejudice could hide in many places, even where it was least expected. The woman stayed quiet for the rest of the flight, thinking deeply about what had just happened. She watched the clouds, feeling a mix of sadness and determination. She knew she could not let this moment pass in silence. The disrespect was real, and it needed to be faced. But she also knew she had to be wise. This was her chance to show courage and lead by example. As the plane landed and passengers stood to leave, she took a deep breath. She walked out of the plane with her head held high. She knew her journey was far from over. This incident was a challenge, but it was also a chance to change something bigger than herself. She was ready to fight, not just for herself, but for all those who had ever felt small or ignored. The story of that flight was just beginning. It would soon reach many ears and open many eyes. But for now, the woman took one step at a time, quietly, preparing to turn pain into power. She believed that respect and kindness were the true paths forward, and she was ready to walk them no matter what. The woman walked out of the plane feeling a mixture of emotions. She was hurt by what had happened, but she was also strong and determined. She thought about her life and all the work she had done to reach where she was now. Her story was one of courage, hard work, and overcoming many obstacles. She grew up in a small town where opportunities were limited. From a young age, she understood that life would not be easy for her. People often judged her because of the color of her skin. Sometimes, They looked at her as if she did not belong or was less than others. But she never let those judgments stop her. Instead, she worked harder. She studied in school, always aiming to learn more and be better. Her family was proud but also worried. They knew the world could be unfair. Still, they supported her dreams and encouraged her to keep going. She dreamed of a life where she could help others and make a difference. She wanted to show that success was possible for anyone, no matter where they came from. As she grew older, she moved to a big city. There she faced new challenges. The city was full of opportunities, but also full of competition and bias. Many times she was told no because of who she was. People doubted her abilities and her ideas. Some doors closed before she even had a chance to walk through them, but she did not give up. She found jobs where she could learn and grow. She worked long hours, sometimes doing more than others, just to prove herself. She was patient and kept building her skills. Slowly, she gained respect from people who saw her dedication and talent. Her ideas began to shine. She started to make a name for herself. One of her biggest achievements was joining the airline's board of directors. This was a position many people dreamed of, but few could reach. Being on the board meant she had a voice in how the company was run. It meant she could help shape policies and make the airline a better place for everyone, employees and passengers alike. Her presence on the board was a sign of change, showed that people from all backgrounds could rise to important positions. But she knew the work was not finished. The airline, like many companies, still faced problems with racism and unfair treatment. Her experience on the flight was proof that change was needed. She often thought about her role on the board. It was not just a title or a job, it was a responsibility. She wanted to use her power to improve the lives of others, especially those who were often ignored or treated unfairly. She pushed for better training for employees, policies that promoted fairness, programs that encouraged diversity. Her work was not easy. Sometimes people resisted change. Some did not want to see the airline change the way it treated its staff or customers. But she stayed firm. She believed in respect and kindness, and she knew that real success came when everyone felt valued. The woman also stayed connected to her community. She spoke at events, shared her story, and encouraged young people to believe in themselves. She wanted others to know that no matter the hardships, it was possible to reach great heights with hard work and courage. But the flight incident was a painful reminder that prejudice still existed. It showed her that even with success, she could still face disrespect. This was a challenge not only for her, but for the whole company. If the airline wanted to be truly great, it had to address these hidden problems. She thought about the flight crew who had laughed at her struggles. They did not know who she was. To them, she was just a passenger to mock. This showed how important education and awareness were. If people understood more about respect and kindness, moments like this could be avoided. She also thought about the passengers who saw the incident but did not speak up. She believed everyone had a role in stopping unfairness. Sometimes, silence could feel like permission. She wanted to inspire people to stand up when they see wrong. The woman decided that her next steps would be careful but strong. She would report the incident to the airline's leadership. She would share her experience and the feelings it brought. She wanted the airline to take the issue seriously and make real changes. Her goal was to make the airline a place where no one would feel small or disrespected. She knew this was not just about her flight. It was about many people who travel every day and face similar treatment. It was about changing a culture that allowed such behavior to continue. She was ready to use her position and her voice to make a difference. The woman's story was inspiring. Too many she showed that even when faced with unfairness, it was possible to keep moving forward. Her strength came not only from her success, but from her kindness and courage. She wanted others to know that their struggles mattered and that change was possible. She also understood the power of forgiveness and growth. She believed that people could learn and improve. But for that to happen, mistakes had to be acknowledged, and respect had to be earned. She hoped the airline would see this moment as a chance to grow stronger as she prepared to speak with the airline's leaders. She felt a deep sense of purpose. This was not just a personal fight, it was a fight For fairness and respect in a world that often forgot those values, she was ready to lead the way. After the flight landed, the woman took a moment to collect her thoughts. She knew that what had happened was serious and could not be ignored. The disrespect from the flight crew was more than just a hurtful moment. It was a sign of a bigger problem. She was determined to make sure that this behavior would not be accepted or repeated. She started by writing a clear and detailed report about the incident. She described exactly what had happened on the plane, how the crew laughed at her when she asked for help, and how it made her feel. She also mentioned the reactions of other passengers and how the crew's behavior was unprofessional and unfair. She wanted her report to be honest and respectful but firm. She knew the airline had to understand the full impact of the situation. The woman also reached out to some passengers who had been on the flight. She asked if they were willing to share what they had seen. Many were happy to support her. They remembered the moments when the crew laughed and how it made the woman uncomfortable. Some passengers had felt uneasy, but did not know how to react at the time. Their testimonies were important. They showed that the crew's behavior was not just her perception, but a clear problem. She gathered any possible evidence, including photos and recordings taken by fellow travelers. These showed parts of the flight where the crew's disrespect was visible. The woman knew this evidence would help the airline see the truth and take action. Then, she sent her report and evidence to the airline's Human Resources Department and to the board of directors. Since she was a member of the board herself, she knew some of the people personally. She trusted they would listen carefully and understand the seriousness of the case. The airline acted quickly. They launched an internal investigation to find out exactly what had happened. They called the flight crew members for interviews and asked for their side of the story. The crew could explain their actions, but the evidence was clear. Their behavior was not acceptable for a professional airline. During the investigation, the woman stayed calm but firm. She was open to dialogue, but insisted that respect and fairness were non-negotiable. She wanted the airline not only to punish the wrong behavior, but also to prevent it from happening again. She knew that true. Change required education and new policies. The company decided to suspend the flight crew involved, pending further action. They also planned to give the entire flight team new training on diversity, respect, and customer service. The airline's leaders publicly stated that they would not tolerate any form of discrimination. They promised to work harder to create a welcoming environment for all passengers. News about the incident started to spread outside the airline. Some passengers shared their stories on social media, and reporters picked up the news. People were shocked that a respected board member could be treated with such disrespect by the company's own employees. The story touched many hearts, and many expressed support for the woman. She received messages from strangers thanking her for standing up. Some shared their own experiences with discrimination and encouraged her to keep fighting. Others praised her courage and honesty. It was clear that this issue was bigger than one flight, or one person. It was a challenge many faced every day. The woman felt both encouraged and burdened. She knew that speaking out meant facing more challenges ahead. Some people might not agree with her or might try to silence her. But she also knew that silence would only allow the problem to grow. She worked closely with the airlines leaders to plan new programs that would improve the company culture. These programs included workshops about unconscious bias, ways to handle customer requests kindly, and methods to create respect among coworkers. The woman believed that education was the key to change. She also encouraged the airline to create an anonymous system where passengers and employees could report any unfair or disrespectful behavior without fear. This would help the company catch problems early and respond quickly. Throughout this time, the woman stayed connected with her community and colleagues. She gave interviews, shared her story at conferences, and spoke with leaders in other companies about the importance of respect and diversity. Her experience became a lesson for many. Despite the attention, she remained humble and focused on the goal. She wanted the airline to be better not just for her, but for everyone who traveled. She believed that kindness and fairness could transform not only a company, but also the lives of many people. The woman's courage inspired others to speak up too. More passengers started sharing their stories, and some employees spoke about challenges they faced at work. This created a movement inside the airline to push for real change. At times, the woman faced doubts and fatigue. Fighting discrimination was not easy, and change took time. But every small step forward gave her hope. She started this journey to build a world where respect was common and everyone could feel safe and valued. As the investigation moved toward its final stages, the airline made a public apology to the woman and promised to continue improving. They shared the steps they were taking and invited passengers and employees to join in the effort. The woman accepted the apology, but reminded the company that words must turn into actions. She was ready to watch carefully and support positive change. This chapter of her life was difficult but also powerful. She turned her pain into strength and showed that standing up for what is right can create hope for the future. The news of the incident on the flight quickly spread across many places. People talked about it on social media, in news articles, and in conversations at work and home. The story of a respected black woman being laughed at by a flight crew sparked many feelings. Some people were shocked, others were angry, and many were inspired by her courage to speak out. The airline made a public statement soon after. The company said it was sorry for what happened and promised to take the matter seriously. They said they would investigate and punish any employees who acted wrongly. The airline also said it wanted to improve training for all workers to make sure everyone was treated with respect. This statement showed the airline's effort to fix the problem and regain trust from passengers and the public. Many passengers who had been on the flight shared their experiences as well. Some said they noticed the crew laughing and found it strange but did not know how to react. Others expressed their support for the woman and hoped the airline would learn from this mistake. Their stories added more truth to the situation and made the airline's need to act even clearer. The woman became a symbol for many people who had faced discrimination before. Her strength and honesty inspired others to share their own stories. Support poured in from all over. People sent messages of thanks, encouragement, and respect. Many saw her not only as a leader on the board of directors, but also as a brave person standing up for fairness and equality. The airline's board held meetings to discuss what should be done next. They knew that just saying sorry was not enough. They had to make real changes in the company's culture. The woman played a key role in these talks. She shared her ideas on how to improve respect and kindness among employees and passengers. The company decided to introduce new diversity and inclusion programs. These programs included workshops for all employees to learn about bias, respect, and empathy. The airline also created better ways for passengers to report bad behavior, including anonymous hotlines. These steps were designed to catch problems early and make sure everyone felt safe. The flight crew members who had acted disrespectfully were given consequences. Some were suspended, while others had to attend special training sessions before returning to work. The airline made it clear that this kind of behavior would not be accepted again. The story also caught the attention of other companies and leaders. Many began to think about their own workplaces and whether similar problems existed there. Women's experience helped start a larger conversation about racism and respect in many industries. Some people still disagreed or wanted to ignore the problem. But the woman and her supporters kept pushing for change. They believed that listening to stories like hers was important to build a better future in her community. The woman continued to speak about her journey. She talked about the importance of standing up against unfairness, even when it is hard. She encouraged young people to believe in themselves and to never be afraid to speak the truth. She also reminded people that respect begins with each person. Small acts of kindness and understanding can change how we treat each other every day. The woman hoped that her story would help create a world where laughter and disrespect would no longer hurt anyone. The airline slowly started to show signs of change. More employees spoke about their experiences, and more passengers felt comfortable sharing their thoughts. The company's efforts to train and listen created a better atmosphere for everyone. The woman knew the road ahead was still long. Change does not happen overnight, but she felt hopeful. Her voice, along with many others, was making a difference. She continued to work hard on the board and in her community to support respect and fairness. The story of the flight crew laughing was painful, but it became a turning point.
Aight.
The woman's courage helped open eyes and hearts and showed that respect and kindness are the true paths forward. The woman felt a deep sense of hope as she looked toward the future. The difficult experience on the plane had sparked something important, not just for herself, but for many others as well. The airline had promised to make changes, and now it was time to see those promises turn into action. She worked closely with the other members of the board to create new policies. These policies focused on respect, kindness, and fairness for every passenger and employee. They wanted to make sure that no one would ever be laughed at or treated unfairly because of who they were. The woman believed that these changes could help the airline grow stronger and better. The airline started to bring in experts to help train their employees. These experts taught workers about different cultures, about how bias can hurt people, and about the importance of empathy. The training sessions were designed to open hearts and minds.
Oh.
The woman took part in these sessions too, sharing her story and explaining why respect matters so much. More than just training, the airline changed how it handled complaints. They made it easier for passengers to speak up if they felt mistreated. The woman helped create a safe system where people could report problems without fear. This showed that the airline was serious about listening and improving. Employees also began to feel the change. Some who had never thought much about their behavior started to understand how their actions could affect others. The company encouraged everyone to be kinder and more aware. The woman believed that small changes in everyday actions could lead to a big difference over time. The woman's work did not stop at the airline. She spoke at schools, community centers, and conferences. She told her story to inspire others to believe in themselves and to stand up for what is right. Her message was clear. Everyone deserves respect. Everyone can help make the world a better place. Her courage encouraged others to share their own stories, where people spoke about times they faced unfair treatment. This helped bring awareness and created a community of support. The woman felt proud that her experience could help so many. Though change was slow, the airline was moving forward. Passengers noticed a warmer, more welcoming atmosphere. Employees felt more valued and understood. The company started to be known, not just for its flights, but for its commitment to respect and kindness. The woman also made sure that the airline kept its promises. She regularly checked in with the leadership and employees to see how things were going. She believed that accountability was important for lasting change. Her story became a reminder that even those with power can face prejudice. But it also showed how strength, courage, and honesty could turn difficult moments into hope. She proved that one person's voice can inspire many, and that respect is a powerful force for good. The flight crew's laughter was painful, but it became a moment that sparked healing and growth. The woman's determination helped create a safer, kinder place for everyone who traveled. Her journey was a lesson in courage and a call to action for all. As time passed, she continued her work with passion and care. She knew that respect and kindness were not just words, but ways of life. Her hope was that every person, no matter who they are, could experience the dignity they deserve. The woman believed the world could change. One small step at a time, she was ready to keep walking that path, leading with strength, grace, and a heart full of hope.